All right, so let's talk philosophy of leg right defense, because it is one of those positions that's kind of a hot button issue. And I think it's because it leaves such a bad taste in kids' mouth, but we don't train it a lot for our little kids because you just don't see a lot of good leg riders in the youth division. Now you're gonna see like one or two, and that experience of being leg ridden and grinded on and power half, it's gonna be miserable for kids, so that'll kind of like stick in their head. But we can't let that distract us from the overall big picture of getting the basics down. Now, once kids get a little older, middle school, high school, yes, obviously leg riding is something we absolutely have to address. But because if we don't address it, we will lose there, right? We will at some point in some big tournament, state, nationals, whatever, we're gonna run into a good leg rider. And if we don't know what we're doing, if we're not prepared to defend that, we will get leg ridden, okay? And so kind of as I mentioned, it's one of those positions where I feel like there's not a lot of middle ground. You're either great at it and really comfortable, or you're terrible at it. So obviously in wrestling, knowing the technique is only a part of being able to get out. And so, I taught all the technique that I use for leg right defense in, roughly a period of 40 to 45 minutes. And I do the same thing when I'm teaching my kids at AWA. But then it's also like, okay, now that we know it, we actually have to be able to go out and do it, because there is a lot of feel, whether it's the beach whale or going one way and the other way, there's a lot of feel to these moves. And so it's like a lot of practices when we're doing leg right. Start with, okay, one person throw a leg in, go. And spar at 50%. Because kids need to spend a lot of time in there to get a feel for it. So we spend a gigantic amount of time at an older age in those positions, because again, they're positions where if we don't have this thing figured out, this thing's going to cost us matches when it's important. And so for kids, I think it's really important as they get older to have a little level of comfortability, and it's more than just knowing the technique, it's being able to execute it with a feel. So as we get into our high school age kids, again, we spend a ton of time sparring leg right defense, going live in leg right defense, because knowing the moves isn't enough. You have to be able to feel them and execute them at a high level at the right time with the right amount of power, etc., etc., etc. So I would, if this is to a coach or an athlete, if you don't spend a lot of time there, start spending a lot of time there, because if you're not good there, it's going to be a place that's going to cost you. Once you get to a high level, you're going to run into good leg riders, and you're going to be miserable there if you don't have this solved.